Guys, welcome to Better Bachelor. My name is Joker, and tonight we're going to be talking about prepping. You know, I'm still sitting here. It's Monday. They've got my transmission pan dropped, and they've got the sensor, and they think they have most of the parts that I need. And then they need to check on the oil leak that I've got up in the front of the engine, because it seems to be getting quite bad. But it is a DT466 and an Allison 3000 transmission. They say both are rock solid, so it shouldn't be too crazy, although the man hours are definitely going to add up. So thank you all of those that have donated and sent in some funds. You know, you guys are so kind and awesome to me. I many times don't even feel like I deserve it. But many of you are sending me messages of, dude, be strong, hang in there, everything will be okay, and sorry to hear about this, and don't stress. Even my mom, when I send them update texts, I'm like, here's what's going on with the transmission and everything. And she's like, oh, don't let it get you down. And I'm like, I'm good. Like, I'm really good. I expect things like this. I expect problems. And you kind of know things like this are going to happen. So when they do, you're not taken by surprise. I am bummed that I'm not on the road driving right now and heading to my destination. But you know what? These things are going to happen. And it's all how you are prepared for them and you're kind of ready to go into them. That determines like how bad or how good things are. And I kind of wanted to talk tonight about prepping, not necessarily because I'm a big prepper, but I am definitely one that plans ahead, and I try to look at trends, whether it's social trends, whether it's economic trends, whether it's the media or politician trends, and how they're trying to steer the theme in a direction that I may not agree with, because there's times where I look and I'm like, I don't believe you. But now that I'm traveling and I'm on the ground, I always want to make sure, hey, if something bad happens, am I prepared? And the reason why I wanted to talk about prepping, because it's not just taking care of yourself, but it's also taking care of your loved ones. Like when I was staying with my mom and dad, I made sure that they had enough food for 3 to 6 months, and I ordered it, and I kind of stockpiled it, and they still have a lot of it left. But it's also about, being able to take care of those loved ones. And what brought this to mind to me tonight, and I'll leave a link down below if you want to jump right to the main story. Look down in the information below the video, so if you get tired of me rattling, you can just jump to the main article. But what brought this to mind is a trucker pulled in next to me this morning. And I'm sitting on the bus and I'm having my morning cup of coffee, and they were already open. And he went in and came back out, and they're working on his rig. They've got the hood up and everything. And around lunchtime, I was in talking to the manager here, the owner, asking him kind of how things are going. And this gentleman came in, and he said, hey, is there a place that's close by I can go to get a bite to eat? Because I don't have anything in the truck, and his truck is out of service. And the guy's like, no, and no place is delivering right now because every place is short of workers. And this I noticed the other day when I went out is the drive-thrus are the only thing that are open. You can't park and go inside. And a lot of the big rig drivers are complaining about that because they can't drive a big rig through the drive-thru, and you can't walk through a drive-thru, and they can't park their rig to go in and eat. So a lot of times they're like, hey, there's no place for us to eat right now. And this is they're having to eat frozen stuff out of convenience stores, which isn't really good food. And it's very hard on them, especially, it's easy to kind of gain weight when you're just sitting all day and eating crappy food. So anyway, this guy's like, is there any place? And the owner's like, no, not really. And there's no one delivering right now. And he seemed kind of out of sorts. And he and I had been chatting a little bit here and there throughout the day since he's literally parked right next to me in the bay here, or outside of the bay to get repair. And I said, hey man, I've got a couple of soups you can choose from, and we'll heat them up in the microwave. And he kind of gave me a look, and he's like, are you? I said, I got an RV out here. And so I invited him all out. I heated him up I've got little containers of soup. I heated him up some soup. I gave him some chips. I'm like, do you want some iced coffee, hot coffee? Do you want a diet soda to drink? I've got water. I've got chocolate milk. Like, is there anything? So I ended up giving him lunch, and he sat in here, and we chatted for a little while, and really, really nice guy. And it's kind of cool to be able to help somebody else out and make sure that they're okay, because otherwise who knows how long he would have sat here without getting a bite to eat. Now, I could have also had him jump in my pickup truck that I'm towing, and we could have driven down to a restaurant. But I said, hey, as long as we're here, that's what I was going to eat here anyway. So we both ate lunch. So let's talk about maybe being a little prepared, because as we've talked about, things like if you look at the gas line pipeline supply shutdown here in the United States, I think D.C. right now, District of Columbia, is 88% of the gas stations are without fuel. There's still some dotted all over the country, but this was supposed to only be a few days, and here we are coming up on a week. So whether it's that, whether it's storm, whether it's something else, it's not a bad idea to be prepped. And I don't want to talk about the doom and gloom of the economy and supply chains and all that stuff. I'm in a good mood tonight, so I want to talk about, hey, what's maybe something you can do so that if things do kind of get out of sorts or get kind of wonky, that you're okay for a week, a month, 3 months, whatever. So first, let's talk about some losses here from Breitbart. And this is from a couple weeks ago. I saved the image, but I never got around to it. China is deleting feminists from social media amid birth rate collapse. Apparently, a lot of the women over in China are saying, hey, girl power and all this stuff, and we don't want to be housewives and we don't want to have kids, and their birth rate is kind of dropping off of a cliff. And that for a long time, I think they had a mandate that you could only have one child. They've now removed that, and I think they're now saying you can have two or unlimited, and they're trying to get people to kind of start populating again. And the women apparently are not wanting to, because they got hold of the Western womanist movement, and they're kind of all on board on that. And so a lot of countries, the birth rates are dropping because of this. And also, not only do the women say, oh, I don't want to have any kids, but a lot of men are saying, I don't want to have any kids with that type of woman. Okay, this is I didn't want to do an article about this, but this is kind of funny. This is a Danish woman says, and this is from February 2021, Danish woman says she won't shave mustache or trim unibrow just to land a man. So in other words, I am done with this beauty trend. I'm not going to beautify myself just for a man. I'm going to be all natural. Well, here's what she looks like. Let me back that up a step there for you. She's got a nicer mustache than I had at 17 years old, and she definitely is rocking very much a unibrow. And it's not quite solid in between, but you can see the hairs on each eyebrows kind of holding hands across the middle of her forehead there. She's definitely not a looker. And now here's the picture of her when she is waxed and trimmed up and everything, and she looks definitely a lot better. But this is no bueno, because if she's not doing that, does that also mean she's not shaving her pits or her legs or anything like that, or womanscaping downstairs? A 31-year-old Danish tutor from she's a teacher. Shocking. From Copenhagen has a message for potential suitors. Take this tweezer and shove it. Now, I'm not sure how to pronounce a Danish name, so I hope I get this right. Ildina Jaganyak. I'm not sure if the J is Jaganjak or Jaganyak or Yaganyak. I don't know if they spell it or pronounce it like Latin. Yaganyak, I guess, is fed up with what she says are ridiculous beauty standards imposed on women, especially when it comes to hair removal. Yes, it is ridiculous to not look like a 17-year-old boy, apparently. How crazy are we? She ditched the tweezers she once used to trim back her unibrow and the razor to shave her upper lip back in March 2020. She said she was just as feminine with hair there. Okay, maybe you think so. But that to her is a positive. She said not all men were as complimentary. She had to cope with a guy yelling, "Pluck that," or staring at her eyebrows like she had a third head. Well, she may not have a third head, but she definitely has a second hairline. Maybe even a third hairline if you want to count that stash that she's got coming in. She said, before I let my unibrow grow out, I did feel like there were extremely limited options to how women were supposed to look. If a man didn't shave and doesn't pluck his eyebrows, no one notices or comments, and it's nothing out of the ordinary. Actually, I pluck between my eyebrows. I really do, and I trim my beard. And I shave my head. Like, there is a point of, hey, at least keep yourself kind of neat and tidy so you don't look like a caveman. She said, freed from fussy personal grooming. She said, I can focus on the tasks and goals that I need to have done and less on how I appear while doing them. Yeah, and you won't even have to worry about wasting any time dating. Like, you have all the free time in the world now. That's the great news. Maybe some guys are into this, not me. Like, I wouldn't want to kiss her and feel a mustache tickling my lip. I mean, I'm sure women may not like mine, but I definitely not kissing a woman where our mustaches are literally entwining. I'll pass. That's a hard pass for me. Okay, this is a post on, I guess, a dating app. Some guy took a screenshot of it. A girl's replying to him saying, to be honest, I don't like guys named blank. It was removed. She says, you have to impress me. You have 2 texts to keep me interested. Go. And he says, no thanks. I'm not a dog. I don't do tricks on command. That is the correct answer. Stop playing the games on their terms. Just get past it. Women are not worth it. And last, a plug for me. This is an article, a hit piece that was written on about locals.com, which is where my betterbachelor.locals.com channel is. It says Locals, a censorship-resistant content creation platform uniting crypto investors and right-wing pundits. Like, that's supposed to be negative. I mean, obviously, media today is against anything that's middle of the road, conservative, and I guess being a crypto investor is now somehow being a bad person. But anyway, yeah, they're trying to come after locals, and I'm good with that because, as they say, it's censorship resistant. My forums over there are doing wonderful. I've had plenty of new people joining us over there, piling in. It's free to join. Again, if you want to sponsor, great. But and I really appreciate those that have. I've got a monthly and a yearly. But people are coming over there. They're posting. We're having conversations, whether it's about the jab, whether it's about masks, whether it's about censorship, whether it's about big government, whether it's about inflation, whether it's about all the current things we've got going on. And no one is over there trying to shut you down or shadow ban you or making sure no one can see what you're posting. So I'm all in on that. So this is good because even the media is saying it's censorship resistant, which is very important nowadays. All right, on to our main article here. Let me scroll this down. And this is from the Provident Prepper. It says, being part of the solution, 14 compelling reasons to be a prepper. So they say the media often paints preppers in a less than appealing light because of a few extreme preppers that make an impressive but a non-realistic story. Real preppers are quite different than doomsday preppers. What are today's preppers actually preparing for? Modern-day preppers are preparing for a time when life as we know it may get a little challenging. Preppers are getting ready to be self-reliant regardless of the challenges that life may throw their way. Right, now you can go full doomsday if you want, and I'd be adding armor plating to the sides of the bus, and I'd have a tanker behind me that's got, 5,000 gallons of gasoline like they had in all the Mad Max, But you don't have to go that far. Just keeping some extra water, keeping 3 to 6 months worth of food. And when I was talking to my parents about this, I said, look, just have, like my mom went out and bought a 10-pound bag of rice, and she's got several, 5 or 10-pound bags of flour, and she has powdered eggs that are like, you can get them in containers that are like 100 powdered eggs that you can store, and they'll last for like a year or two. And so what she does is she stores that, and then she slowly will work through it. And then when it's about halfway gone, she reorders some things. And so you're always constantly keeping 6 months of reserve of food available while you're going through it. So it's not just stuff that you buy and stick on a shelf and it may go bad if you don't use it. Like for me, I've got a container back here that's got probably 200 cans of soup that don't require water added, like the non-condensed soup. And I can just crack one open, pour it in, heat it up in the solar-powered microwave, or my microwave that's hooked up to my solar-powered battery bank. I can have a can of hot soup for 200 days. Add some protein powder that I've got. You can do rice and beans. It's just keeping things around so that, hey, you know what? If there's a run on the grocery store, if something happens to where maybe transportation does break down for a month or 2 or 3, or they're out of toilet paper like they were last year for a month or 2 or 3, you go, you know what? Let all the crazies go to the store. Let them make their mad rush. Let them all run over each other trying to make sure that they've got enough food for the weekend and can get their Krispy Kreme donuts and their, I don't know, whatever else they need. You can just sit back and be like, you know what? I'll just wait till all the mad buying happens. And then when things start getting, refilled in a couple of weeks or a month, I can take my time to restore my cabinets. Same thing with my laundry. Like a lot of you mentioned, hey, you don't have a washing machine. I don't need a washing machine. I take my clothes, I put them in my kitchen sink, I put a little laundry powder in there, I put some hot water in there from the hot water tank I got in the back, and the 50 gallons of water that I carry around with me. I heat it up, I just put a couple inches in there, soak it for 15 minutes, and then I learned how to wash clothes really well from a Thai woman and a Filipino woman, because they don't have washing machines. And so they taught me how to do it very well and how to rinse it out, and then I hang it out in the line and dry it. There's so many ways that you can be prepared. And I think that's just a smart thing. And even with gasoline containers, like there aren't any on the shelves right now because everybody got scared they're going to run out of gas. I had 2 diesel canisters. I've had them for a while. They've been filled with diesel. I've got 10 gallons in the back here. You just got to be prepared for that stuff. Okay, so they say, these challenges may take the form of anything from a winter power outage to an earthquake to an unexpected financial challenge to the complete collapse of civilization as we know it. Each prepper is getting ready for risks that are specific to their geographical and personal risk factors. To learn what risks you may want to prepare for, visit our post-prepper risk assessment. What threats should you be prepared to survive? They say, what is exactly a prepper? Hey, it's you being prepared for things that may happen. I'll just go through that quickly. Most preppers are not preparing for one catastrophic event. While some preppers are preparing for the end of the world as we know it, or the great zombie apocalypse, the vast majority of preppers are just getting ready to take care of their families regardless of circumstances they may find themselves in. Planning ahead and anticipating possible risks and needs is a greater way to lessen the effect that an emergency or disaster may have on your life. Preppers are wise people who understand that challenge is a constant in life. We are preparing for events that are fairly likely, such as natural disasters, power outages, and financial challenges, which are just a part of everyone's lives. We are self-reliant. They say compelling reasons you should be a prepper. We encourage you to join us as we prepare to take on the challenges of life. Perhaps understanding the benefits of becoming a prepper may help convince you to join the ranks of the provident preppers. They say preppers embrace the motto, be prepared. This is kind of the big thing that I'm in on, is just be prepared. It's why I went solar powered on this thing. Now, was solar powered 10 times more expensive than me getting a generator for the back of this bus? Yes. However, I don't have to worry about running out of gas. Was a wood stove harder to put in than a propane heater? Yes. But I don't have to worry about running out of propane. As long as I can go out in the woods and pick up dry sticks, and I actually do carry some of the compressed fire logs with me. As long as I can go out and pick up some sticks and shave a little bit with my knife, I can get a fire started in here. I can go down to 0 degrees Celsius or 32 degrees Fahrenheit. I can probably go lower, but I haven't had to yet. But if I've got this fire roaring, I'm sweating in this bus. When it's freezing outside, I'm sweating. So I'm good with heat. And with the solar power, I'm good with electric. And with a 50-gallon water tank, I don't really want to drink out of it, but I could if I had to. I mean, it's clean water. I keep the tank cleaned out and I flush it out. But I could, I've got what do they call them? Like antibacterial sanitizing tablets up here. I could pour a gallon of water out of my main bus and maybe put a cleansing tablet if I need there. I got 3-4 gallons in the fridge. I got ice cream in the fridge. I mean, but the point is just being prepared for any little thing that can come your way. You don't have to call yourself a prepper. You just say, hey, I'm ready in case something goes wrong for anywhere between a month and 3 months or 6 months, depending on your tolerance. They say your great-grandparents were preppers. Have you considered the fact that many of your ancestors were preppers? Historically, being what we call a prepper significantly increased your chance of surviving through the winter. Stocking up on supplies and preserving the harvest was a necessity or a necessary part of life. Victory gardens were the norm during World War II, and those who grew them were considered heroes of the war effort. Many who lived through the Great Depression learned a great appreciation for the value of stocking up, becoming self-reliant, and being prepared. Yet in our society of just-in-time inventory and fast food lifestyles, everything that we need seems to be ready available as long as we have the cash or credit to pay for it. Perhaps we should consider exactly how these supplies magically appear and what may possibly disrupt this potentially fragile system. Prepping isn't crazy or insane. It's a treasured part of your heritage, and we would be wise to embrace prepping like our prudent ancestors did. I'll tell you something that's interesting about my life personally. Let's take these cans of soup that I have. I think they're Chunky or Campbell's soup or something. One of these cans is good for a year or two, but once that can is opened and I've eaten that soup, the can that's left over is garbage. Now, if you look at the way my grandfather didn't do any of the jarring, but my grandmother taught my mother, and I actually had my mom show me how to jar, although I haven't bought any of them. They have these glass jars, and you've seen them. I think they're called mason jars, but they're glass jars, and they have the metal cap that has a rubber seal around it, and some of them even have a flip lid that come up over top of that cap. And what you can do is you put preserves, whether it's strawberries, whether it's vegetables, no matter what it is, you can pickle things. You put them in these jars, and then you boil them to heat the contents up inside of it to get it very hot. And then you put on the lid, and you crank it or snap it shut, or other ones, you screw down that seal valve on there. And then as it cools, because heat expands, so as it cools, it contracts, and it creates a vacuum seal on this jar. It doesn't, in most cases, require refrigeration. Now, I don't think you'd want to leave it out in a 120-degree garage, but you stick it in a basement, you stick it in your pantry, and now you've got a sealed thing that is kind of, and since it was boiling, all the bacteria is dead inside of it, so there's no germs inside of it living, you've got food that is sealed fresh, and some of the stuff lasts a long time. Well, that's what they do with their corn. They'd shave it off the cob, or they'd put carrots in there, or peas, or beans, and they'd put fruit in there, and that's where, jams, and they'd make things like that. You make these containers, you cook them, you seal all summer long into the fall, and then in the wintertime, you've got jars and jars and jars and jars of this stuff that you work your way through because you can't grow anything out in the fields. It's really quite brilliant if you look back at how people survived before they had refrigeration and Instafood. Now, you may not want to go necessarily that far, but having the knowledge of how to do that, and I'm talking to those of you that have homes and do want to kind of be prepared in case things go south. You can have 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 crates of these jars. I think each jar might cost you $1.50 to maybe $3. You can just have these jars, stick them in a basement, a garage, whatever. Never think about them again for the rest of your life. But if things do start to go bad, you can go to the store, buy a can of corn, right? Heat it up, put it in one of these jars, boil it, seal it, and now the can is trash, but now you've got a jar of the same corn, and what's cool is after you eat that corn, you can then put fresh corn that you've grown or something else into it. People do this with seeds and other stuff all the time. They say preppers are ready for life's little challenges. We're preparing for thousands of little challenges or little things that life throws our way each and every day. For example, we have a 3 to 6 month supply of foods that our family eats every day. This means I never have to take the last minute trip to the grocery store to buy a missing ingredient. This family storehouse enables us to easily weather a financial trial, such as a job change, unexpected illness, or medical bills, car repairs, or a spontaneous family vacation. A power outage at our home is nothing more than an adventure. We have fun lighting devices that take care of our lighting of the world. We have a backup heating and the ability to cook both indoors and outdoors. A generator and fuel are ready at a moment's notice if we decide to use it. A power outage is no sweat at the Jones home. We're ready for all the little events as well as any larger catastrophic events that may occur. Prepping makes life easier. Life is full of stress and worries. When you are prepared, it can reduce that stress. That full pantry means that you always have the ability to whip up a meal or have a chocolate bar to nibble on. Prepping means you take fewer trips to the grocery store, allowing more time for the things you like to do. They say preppers build relationships and strengthen communities, right? Because, again, you can help others and they can help you, and especially if you have a good community. They say prepping brings peace. Some preppers operate in the fear mode. They stockpile anything and everything because they fear what may happen in the future. Fear is not a good reason to become a prepper. Security does not come from the stuff that you own. We prepare because it brings great peace. I'd say peace of mind. We do not know exactly what our future holds. Like many others, we prepare for religious reasons and because it just makes sense. As we watch the events in our world unfold, there's great peace knowing that we have done everything that we reasonably can to prepare, and we leave the rest in God's hands. They say preppers can do more with less. I'm not going to read that. Preppers work to be free from debt. The skill that let's see, is there anything? Basically, they buy in bulk. They're much more careful on all the things that they purchase, and they don't get frivolous things. Preppers build self-confidence, right? Because they say preppers take opportunities to gain knowledge and develop skills, like the jarring, like going out and having just little packets of seeds for different fruits and vegetables or whatever you can grow in your area. And you take those seeds and you stick them on a box somewhere, and those seeds can sit there probably for the rest of your life. But if you ever need them, you have them if you have the knowledge and the self-confidence to be able to plant them and grow them should things go south. And again, a lot of this may not apply to those of you living in a city that are always going to live in a big city, but it doesn't mean that you can't have like an extra box of food or whatever. An extra 100 cans of soup, couple of bags of rice, couple of bags of beans, just things that allow you to be fed. And it may not be your favorite food. It may not be Pop-Tarts or ice cream or something like that, but at least you'll get through when there's a mad dash on the stores. And if things really get bad and the stores do become empty, if you've got 6 months of food already saved, you're not out there with all the other crazies trying to end each other over the food or the low supplies. You can protect your home, you can kind of barricade yourself in, or just stay away from the crazies. And then as the opportunities come up to purchase something or the opportunities come up to get something, you've got 6 months to be able to get that or have that window, where other people that haven't prepared anything are literally have a week, maybe 2 weeks until they start virtually or literally starving. And those are the people that, it's not so much, oh my gosh, the food isn't at the store. It's, I'd like to go out and look for the food, but I think someone's going to try to end me if I'm out of here and they think I have money or food or something like that. Now, that's on the extreme. But again, if you have 3 to 6 months of food storage, when they're all going crazy at each other's throats, you can be kicking back, relaxing. Again, it may not be your favorite food, but it's enough to sustain yourself. As a matter of fact, I will show you even one of the things that I have. It's right here in this cabinet behind me. I'll show you quickly. The reason why I'll show you, this is not a promo for this stuff, and I'm not even saying this is necessarily the best food in the world, but something like this it's called a mass powder, okay? This is 16 servings in here, so this right here is 15 days of food for me. Each double scoop of this is 1,250 calories. Now, if you're a big guy, I know that's not enough calories for you, but if you're a smaller person, like for me, that's not enough. This is about half my daily needs. So yes, I would be losing weight, but I've got a little extra weight to lose. It wouldn't be the end of the world. But this has all my vitamins in here. It's got 50 grams of protein in here. They have different flavors. You can mix this, so if you have some dry oatmeal, you can mix. This happens to be strawberry, which I don't think would taste good with oatmeal, but I do have chocolate, I do have peanut butter, I do have other flavors. So if 2 of these bags is a month worth of food if I mix this with a little bit of protein powder, I mix this with maybe a little bit of oatmeal. There's other things you can do. Well, I have not just this, but I have 6 months of food here on a bus with me. So if I can do it, you guys can stuff things away as well, just to be prepared. I'm not saying you need to go this far. I'm driving off into the wilderness. I don't know if I'm going to be up in the middle of nowhere with no cell phone service and my bus breaks down. If something like that happens, I may be waiting for a long time till somebody comes by that I can thumb a ride from. But the way it stands now, I'll have cold beverages. I'll have ice cubes. I got 50 gallons of water. I got enough food here for 6 months. I'd run out of water long before that, more than likely. Although if I drank half a gallon a day, I could probably make it. I got a shower back here. It's just being prepared. And that, it doesn't mean that you're crazy. It just means that you can relax. And if things go bad or things go wrong or things go unexpected and there's an outage of something, like a power outage or a storm, you can relax. It's not going to be a bad deal for you. They say prepping may make the difference between life and death, kind of like what I was just talking about. Preppers are not dependent on the government. Have you taken note of some of the things that the government is doing to prepare? They're stockpiling supplies. Many public officials are silent preppers. Perhaps their actions speak louder than their words. Preppers do not depend on the government to save them. They clearly understand the importance of storing provisions that will enable them to be self-reliant. They choose not to fight the battle of the scarce resources the government may or may not be handing out. Now, during the Great Depression, that really stretched several years, almost out to a decade. There is a point where you're saying, hey, I'm not going to be able, I live in an apartment, I don't have a way to grow things, I can only have 3 to 6 months food. Yes, there's only so much you can do. But in the same token, if you look at kind of how I've spoken about cities versus rural living, cities are going to be, if things really do get bad, cities are going to be the first ones to struggle because they don't produce anything. They don't produce food. They don't really produce manufacturing. I mean, some cities do. But most of the time, they're computer and they're circular supplies, which means if I work at a store, I get paid by that store, and then I may go eat lunch at a fast food place, and I may go shop at another store, and then I may go shop at a mall. Well, the person that works at a mall may buy things from my store, may go eat at this grocery store. It's kind of the circular money spending. Well, if one of those infrastructures falls apart and it's not there anymore, it makes a huge problem. The other thing to think of, too, when you think of supply lines, people don't think about this, but what if instead of 100%, let's say you have 100% of food grown today. So you say you have 100 carrots, okay? And normally 100 carrots and 100 carrots get planted, and 100 carrots get watered, and 100 carrots get picked, and 100 carrots get sent to market on trucks. And then they all get to the market, and 100 carrots are sold. What happens if only 90% of the carrots are planted because there's a worker shortage or people aren't working, or maybe something happens to where some of the farmers aren't able to work? What happens if only 90% of the carrots? And then what happens if only 90% of those carrots get watered and 90% of those carrots get picked? All of a sudden, you're down to 70 or 80% of the carrots. And then what happens if only 90% of those or 80% of those make it to the store? Before you know it, with too many hops, if things just start to you shave a little bit off the top, by the time you get to the store, there's only 50% or 40% of the carrots left. Well, people are going to be fighting over that, and the prices on them are going to be rising. These are just little things you need to be aware of in case things kind of get crazy. They say preppers have what they need. Blah, duh, obviously. Preppers are wise. You think ahead. Preppers are part of the solution. I think it's a good thing that you don't have to be part of the problem by trying to dive in when things go crazy. You can stay out of it. And they say, what are preppers preparing to survive? They say natural disasters, man-made disasters, financial challenges, personal challenges, social unrest, like we've seen in many of the cities in Michigan, or is it Michigan? Yeah. And in Portland, social unrest, health hazards. They say be a prepper like me. I'm not going to read through all of this, but I'll leave a link down below if you'd like to. And then this other article that I was kind of looking through, they were just kind of talking about like real world reasons to kind of, I don't like the word prepper, but I do say just being prepared is not a bad idea. They say pandemics, Ebola, swine flu, of course, the bug here recently. Look at the power plant Fukushima that just went in Japan that had problems. They say if you have a reactor in your area. But same thing, what happens if you're down in Texas and all those windmills froze and the gas lines weren't available? If you're only reliant on just your electric heat and the electric's out and it's 20 or 30 degrees out during a freak winter snow ice event, you can still freeze to death, whether that's only happens once every 20 years or not. You can still freeze to death. The Great Depression is one, they said. Solar flare-ups and EMPs. Cyber attacks, we just saw that on the gas lines, and people are still affected by this a week later. And not only is it they can't get gas, but trucks may not be able to deliver in time, which means the products on the trucks may go bad. And if they go bad, they don't get delivered to the store, which means there's a shortage at the store for goodness knows how long. They say here North Korea. I don't know. Maybe that might do something overseas. I don't think it'll reach here. The Cold War back in the 50s, they had problems. Power outages. The big one is coming. They're talking about earthquakes out in California. Drought, floods, Hurricane Harvey, Katrina, and Sandy. Yep, those were things. Tornadoes, inclement weather, landslides, fires, wildfire, death or major illness of an injury of a family member. Monsanto, which is, they say Monsanto threatens control of the world's food supplies. And as Kissinger said, he who controls the food controls the world. Preppers avoid soy and corn products most of all. They buy and save heirloom seeds for the future. Just another reason to grow and own and can your own foods. I don't think that's a bad idea. Again, that's kind of on the far end if maybe you live rural where you could actually plant a garden. having some seeds for rainy day wouldn't be bad. Unemployment and job loss of the family. So let's say you lost your job, but you've got 6 months worth of food. Hey, you know what? You're at least not going to go hungry while you're looking for a new job. Although right now that's not a problem. National debt and hyperinflation. Well, we know that's going on right now. That they say if all that stimulus spending, thanks to the government plan on dealing with the economy during the bug, has you worried, then wait for the real problems coming your way with hyperinflation. Everyday violence, they say, and they're, of course, talking about what happened with the riots and things like that. Your great-grandparents were preppers, and the government is prepping. The government does have fuel stores and food storage. They do it, and that's for the military. That's for our fearless leaders up in Capitol Hill. So they do it. So, I mean, are you going to say that they're smarter than you are? I doubt it. So you saving some stuff wouldn't be too wrong either. They say you'll never run out of toilet paper. You'll have lots of stuff for dinner. Peace of mind for personal emergencies. You'll save money by buying in bulk. But I just wanted to talk about this a little bit because I'm not, like, things are kind of getting bad and there are supply lines breaking down. And just me driving around here on the way up to where I am here in Alabama, almost every store, fast food restaurants, a lot of places are actually closed because they don't have enough people to work the counters on the inside of the restaurant and the drive-through. So they say, hey, we're just going to do the drive-through because it takes one person at a window and maybe two people cooking, and you got three people that can run a fast food restaurant. You open up indoors, you need people at the other counter, and you might get a long line of people where, if you have like 3 or 4 cash registers, you might get a person at each cash register and there's one person behind there. They're going to be clogged up. Well, when you have a drive-through, there's only one line. So it's very easy to keep everybody in a queue, things like that. I'm seeing the actual effects in the real world right now with parts that are not available for some of these trucks. So, again, I talking to the drivers here, talking to the mechanics here, talking to the woman down at a little barbecue place that I've got to go back to tomorrow. There's a little hole-in-the-wall barbecue place that I want to try. It's a guy that I guess has been running it for 50 years. But I went by there this morning and they weren't open yet. And I decided to come back here. I went down to get some groceries. I decided to come back here and wait a little while. And then I met the other guy and I ended up cooking him some soup and everything here. I'm going to go back down there tomorrow. But the thing is that they're normally open, I think it was 6 or 7 days a week. Now they're only open 4 because they don't have enough product to sell for 7 days a week. These things, maybe it's short term, but you got to be ready for the long term. And I just wanted to talk about maybe a positive thing that you could take out of this and a way to make you relax and feel a little more secure and a little happier when things start to crumble. Now, if they go all the way down a landslide, yeah, you're going to go down with it. But at least this gives you more leeway so that the little bumps in the road and the little problems here and there that kind of randomly pop up, it may smooth your life out just a little bit or make it easier on you. Let's do our dating profiles of the day. All right, this first one is a girl in what looks like to be a little top, almost kind of like a little bikini top there and some short shorts. She's 35. She says she is bisexual, asexual, pansexual woman. So she's bi a pan. She's all the things. So she's good with anybody. She's down with anything. She likes frying pans, apparently. She says, I'm heartbroken and I don't know what to do. Oh, but I've read your profile, ma'am. I think you do know what you want to do. I'm heartbroken and I don't know what to do. I'm part of the Pfizer gang, so she got her jab. She's a bitty little bruja, bitty little bruja, 4'11", 95 pounds. She's what we call a spinner. She's looking for a man with dark hair, dark eyes, handsome facial features, big, and I mean big, like for real big. I'm not here to play games. Big as F, okay? Uncut only. Now I wonder, is she talking about a big guy who's very large, but she doesn't want him cut, so she doesn't maybe want him very muscular, so she wants a big heavy-set man? Is that what she's asking for? Because she wants him big. She says, if you are a sexy attorney or doctor, I can consider. but size is an absolute must. DM me on Instagram if you have a big, uncut D. Seriously. So apparently, she wants the Big Mac D. She says, women, ladies, holler at me. I'm weird as F, by the way. Okay, now, if a girl says I like a man that's a little bigger in the package downstairs, I mean, sure, guys also would say, hey, you know what? I like a woman that has this particular shape or that particular shape. But the emphasis on size here really makes me wonder if it's a want thing for a guy that's that big, or if it's a need thing. In other words, like if you're not big as F, it's like throwing a hot dog down a hallway. I don't know. But apparently, gentlemen, you had better be packing. You better be packing yours and the guys next to you to have enough. All right, next dating profile. She's 19. She says, looking for a houseboy, sexy houseboy. Requirements: you must be hot and have a big D. Oh, well, it's good to see you ladies are getting everything squared away on your priorities. So what's most important in all these relationships? A big D, apparently. You must have a good sense of humor. You must smell good. You must pamper me and massage me at all times. You must be prepared to give up on your social life. You must compliment me even when I'm covered in dog crap. You must treat me like a king. Wouldn't that be a queen? Okay. You must be prepared to spend a lot of money on me. You must tolerate my alcoholism. Overall, you're just signing up to be my slave. Swipe right if you dare to. Well, that sounds fun. How exciting. I can't wait to be a part of their world. I've talked about it before. I'll talk about it again with these dating profiles. I mean, you might even say like, oh, she's obviously being sarcastic. Is she? Is she, though? I'm seeing dating profiles that are so bad, I don't know what is legit versus what is sarcasm versus what is humor. The other day, just 2-3 days ago, I read an article about this girl that made a guy that was a Dogecoin, very successful man, finish in her at the end of a weapon because she wanted to get impregnated and because he was a millionaire and all this other stuff. And a lot of you responded like, dude, this is a parody. This is a parody article. And I'm like, but I saw this on 4 or 5 different sites and they didn't keep linking back to the same article. It didn't seem like a circular reference kind of article thing. But the point is that I don't know what's satire and what's real anymore. So many of these have gotten so crazy and women have gone so weird, and so many of these are legitimate, like the article I just read last night about how a womanist can't figure out why men don't want to date her, but also she kind of hates men. There's so much of this going around. It's kind of like, I don't know what is real or not anymore. So I just have to assume it's all real. Y'all are crazy, and we guys just need to stay away from them all. All right. Guys, if you'd like to support my work, links are below as always if you have. Thank you very much. Best way to support me is like, comment, share, subscribe. Join me over on betterbachelors.locals.com. It is my little corner of the internet that is safe from people trying to remove me. Not that they are yet, but you never know. I'll get yeeted off YouTube someday if things keep going. I'll leave it there. This is Better Bachelor. I'm Joker. Remember, stay prepared. Stay ready. It doesn't mean you're crazy. It doesn't mean you're a weird prepper person or zombie apocalypse. Just keep enough around to smooth out the bumps, because I think bumps are coming. And that means a couple extra light bulbs, a little bit more toilet paper, some food for maybe an extra 3 to 6 months. Just have an extra supply or 2 or 3 of things you're going to use anyway. And that way you've got a backup. So if something happens at the store, you don't have to lose your mind.